Windsor Regional Hospital runs out of patience for unvaccinated staff. Dozens are fired after refusing to get the shot. Skipping class to make some noise. Dozens of students from several schools protest to bring back extracurricular sports. A live look at our city there. The trend of gray skies continues with a chance of showers tonight. We've also got a chance of some thunder tomorrow. Colette Kennedy will be here later in the program with a full look at weather. Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Thanks for watching. 81 Windsor Hospital staff are losing their jobs, and 8 professional staff are losing their privileges for not getting their COVID-19 shots. This after deadlines set at both Hotel Dieu Grace and Windsor Regional Hospital to do so.
We're a very high-risk environment, and that's why our community, that's why our patients, that's why Ontario, that's why Canada has reached out to us to say, thank you. Thank you for protecting me. I come into the hospital to be healed, not harmed.
Recruitment is already underway to replace terminated staff. The hospital stresses that this will not in any way impact the quality of care for patients, but will simply add another layer of protection to minimize the risk of any COVID spread or outbreaks. At Windsor Regional, 57 employees and 6 professional staff are impacted. At Hotel Dieu, 24 have been terminated, 2 professional staff without privileges. A change of heart today from the local health unit. It's telling schools in Windsor-Essex that extracurricular activities can resume. The change in position came just as dozens of students skipped class this morning to protest the restriction. As Jacob Barker reports, it's a win for the students, but it comes with conditions.
These teens at WF Herman Academy are skipping class for a cause they believe in.
It's unfair that other places can do it and we can take precautions to make sports available. We could wear our masks and we could get the vaccine or whatever, but we should be able to do it in some type of way.
They took to the streets along with 5 other schools in Windsor-Essex today. They walked all the way to Kennedy High School to join together to say they want their sports back.
Why are you doing this? Because the school board and the health unit doesn't want us to play sports, and we're sick of it.
All the local school boards were acting to uphold a recommendation from the health unit to cancel all extracurricular activities because of rising COVID-19 cases. But today, while the protest was taking place, things changed.
We will recommend that extracurricular activities can be reinstituted for participants who are fully vaccinated. And we're asking the school boards and the school officials to formulate a policy so they can effectuate that. News welcomed by these youth, but the question for them now is how long before they can get back on the field?
It's getting cold out here, so we can't play out here in the cold games. Around this time last year, or the seasons before, it's been playoffs already, so we had champions crowned and everything. Other areas in Ontario got champions crowned. Austin's coming up. We got to make the noise quick. We got to make it happen quick.
It's not over for us till it's over for you. That's my address to the health unit. Not over for us till it's over for you.
A joint statement from all 3 school boards in Windsor-Essex says that each will develop its own plan to check for vaccination, and that since there are athletic associations outside of the region that do not mandate vaccination in student athletes, students will be limited to play within the boundaries of Windsor and Essex County. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
A vegetable processing plant in Tecumseh is dealing with an outbreak of COVID-19. Bonduel says several dozen of its employees are affected. According to the company, currently 65 employees are in isolation, including 14 positive COVID-19 cases at a local hotel. The plant has not shut down. It remains in operation, but the company says it is applying strict pandemic safety measures. A total of 525 people work at the processing plant. A 16-year-old student at Vincent Massey Secondary School was kicked out of a physical fitness class for not wearing a mask over her nose. That's according to the student's mom, Jacqueline Mitchell. The student frantically called her mother, saying she was having trouble breathing. Ministry of Education rules require all staff and students to wear a mask at all times when indoors. Mitchell says her daughter has activity-induced asthma. She wants the school board to be more accommodating.
He had called me on Tuesday while I was at work, and I thought it was a little unusual. I answered the phone, and she couldn't breathe. She was in a full-blown panic attack. I was very angry. I spoke with the principal and the vice principal. The vice principal let me know that he found her in the hallway, and he could tell that she was unable to breathe. It ended with him going over the rules of the children wearing masks in school.
The public school board points to its mask exemption policy, which requires documentation from a doctor. Mitchell says they were not able to get one from their family doctor. The Ministry of Education says school boards are required to have reasonable exceptions to the mask wearing rule and made no mention of requiring a medical note for that exemption. Meanwhile, the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit says most people should be able to wear a mask while doing some physical activity indoors, but people who have concerns should consult with their family physician. They've given some guidance to school boards on what's appropriate.
High intensity physical activity that would be, we wouldn't recommend wearing a mask for those activities. So our recommendation is for only those low intensity activities where a mask can safely, be worn by students, especially when indoors, because that environment is high risk.
Danielle Campo-McLeod, a Paralympic gold medalist and world record holder, is making a remarkable recovery. Last month, she was near death, unconscious for several weeks as her grave medical condition had family, friends, and strangers praying for her. It happened after complications that followed a C-section. Now she's full of gratitude and determination, eager to get back to her children.
Our community is unbelievable, and how we wrap around people when they're struggling. I don't think I'll ever go out without smiling at someone again, just to say thank you, because I feel so blessed.
There was a time, I think, that some in your family, close to your loved ones, were worried you wouldn't make it. Have you had that discussion with them since you've now been on the road to recovery?
Yeah, it wasn't my loved ones worried. It was all of the medical professionals. Told them there were 3 times where I came. They let my whole family come in and into the small room to tell them that things were really, really bad, and that I was close to not making it out. So my heart never stopped. But there were 3 occasions where my whole family came together, and the doctor said, we're trying to do everything we can, but they couldn't get veins open. They couldn't, so there were 3 different occasions where it came very close to the end. And my mom told the doctors, you got to do everything you can, but if you can't, we're going to be okay. And so from what I've heard is that ignited the doctors to work together as a team and figure out what they could do. So there was 3 occasions where they were all together, and it was really, really bad, really close to the end. I can't imagine what they went through. Yeah, I can't imagine the stress and knowing they know how much I want to be here and raise my kids and be with my husband, and just how much I love life. So I can't, that's the part I'm struggling with the most right now, is their trauma of what they went through, knowing, that this was just supposed to be having a baby. And I'm really close to my brothers who were called in as well, and breaks my heart to know that my one brother said, I would trade places with her. I just have a cat. And, it's hard to imagine that we're such a close family, and my mom and I are so close, and my dad and I. So to know that they experience that hurt is probably one of the hardest struggles to climb over right now.
What are the doctors telling you? How long will you be in the hospital, and will your recovery take you back to where you were before?
I don't care what the doctors are saying about that. I will get back to where I was before. Every day they come in and they say they're amazed. This is the new Olympics. The gold medal world record will be when I hug my babies for the first time on my property. So that will be the new world record.
We turn now to international news and the growing humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. The CBC is the first Canadian broadcaster reporting from inside that country. As Susan Ormiston reports, Afghanistan's anguish is on clear display at a food distribution site in Kabul.
Hunger is becoming an even bigger problem here in Afghanistan. This is a food distribution center. Baskets of food for a month distributed by the World Food Program. People are lining up here to get oil and wheat. 97% of households in Afghanistan already don't have enough to eat.
I've been with WFP for a long time. I've never seen a situation deteriorate so quickly as it is. You know, it was already bad before August, but now it's just in free fall. To Canada, I say, please, in their hour of need, separate the humanitarian imperative from the politics, reach out a hand of friendship, a hand of hope, and especially a hand of help to these people in Afghanistan at this time.
The war and the change in government has made things worse. People can't get work, so they're running out of money to buy food. So these lines are getting longer. There'll be 1,000 come here. The World Food Program is struggling to keep up with the demand, especially as winter is coming. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Kabul.
Let the rush on turkey and trimmings begin. The province's top doctor giving the go-ahead today for people to gather inside for Thanksgiving. Dr. Kieran Moore also saying it's safe to trick or treat again this year. Lorenda Redekop now with details on how officials say you can safely enjoy the two occasions.
People stocked up for the long weekend, the second Thanksgiving during the pandemic.
We're getting together, but we're all getting tested ahead of time, and we're going to try and eat outside.
It will be better than last year. We have to stay alone, and that was not a pleasant day for Thanksgiving.
Gathering limits allow up to 25 people inside, 100 outside, though the chief medical officer says the smaller the better, and outdoors is safer. Plus, no masks are required if everyone is vaccinated, including inside if everyone is comfortable.
If you gather indoors with people from multiple households who are unvaccinated or partially vaccinated, or you don't know whether they've been vaccinated, you should wear a face covering and physically distancing. No one should attend a Thanksgiving or other social gathering if they are sick, even if people have mild symptoms. Please stay home and get tested.
Average daily cases have been falling for the past month. Test positivity is down, along with hospitalizations. Today, 149 people were in ICU due to COVID-19, the lowest number in more than a month and a half. But the opposition parties say the advice should have come well before people picked up their turkey.
Can't tell me we didn't know last week what we should be doing. If we haven't figured it out, that's another problem altogether. It's too late.
We should be able to provide information to folks so that they can plan in advance and plan with a sense of security and safety.
The chief medical officer also had Halloween advice. Don't crowd doorsteps when going door to door, work a face covering into a costume, and keep it on for trick-or-treating. And he clarified his advice not to sing or yell for treats.
They'll have masks on. It's just not to yell too exuberantly. I think the purpose of that comment was not to aerosolize, and it's just a risk reduction strategy.
And following this long weekend, he says he wouldn't be surprised if cases do rise, as they usually do after long weekends, and will be monitoring that. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
With the Thanksgiving long weekend upon us this year, on the heels of the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, we spoke to some Indigenous educators in Ontario about what the holiday means to them.
Well, Thanksgiving, we had that even before there was colonizers. Even before, we always celebrated the harvest and what creation has provided for us. Mother Nature has provided everything that we need, but we have to learn how to respect it and care for it, and also keep it for the next 7 generations.
Reflecting upon what has occurred throughout the history of this country as Indigenous peoples, we're thankful for the opportunity to come together and celebrate our culture, celebrate our heritage, and like many years, we're giving thanks for the land, giving thanks for what we received in this last year.
It's always good to get a day off, but it's also a time for reflection of all that we've been through, like beginning of the pandemic, when we were running out of bread, out of food, out of basics in our own homes, and respecting, our food more from that, and learning to respect, how to keep our food and how to share it with others.
Find a way to ensure that Thanksgiving is not just one day of the year, but it is all days, and therefore we understand and appreciate and respect the world that we live in, and that's our the Indigenous worldview. That's the Indigenous concept, right, of Thanksgiving, and for us it's every day, but at this time of year it's a special time for us as we give thanks for what our Mother Earth has provided to us, the beautiful abundance that she has provided through this summer period, and so we give Thanksgiving for those harvests, for the berries. We give Thanksgiving for the animals and for the waters, for everything that has been received.
A live look at our river there this evening. We got temperatures that'll be sitting at about 17 degrees, and then we also have a chance of showers. And that chance of rain is expected to continue into the weekend. We'll have more for you when Colette joins us right after the break. Colette is here now for a look at the weather. Colette, a lot of gray in the forecast this week.
Yeah, it's been tricky. Nice to have a little bit of sun and see that temperature pop up a little bit and just be, grateful, I guess, when you have it. The hot spot in Ontario has been London at 24 degrees, but pretty close to that for Windsor with today's high at 23. But what's kind of interesting is what a normal high is and what a normal low is. And look at what's going on with these overnight temperatures. So our low was 17. Yeah, it matches a normal daytime high. And we keep sort of seeing that with these very, very mild overnights, so that the mornings, you don't need all the layers to kind of wait and get going and then peel them off. You just kind of stick with it because there's not a big change in the temperature throughout the day. There's that 23 holding right now. Chatham-Kent at 20, and London still hanging in there, not quite 24, but 23 degrees. We do have that humidity feeling like we're at 30. That will come down, but only a tiny bit tomorrow. It's really still going to feel kind of sticky. Here, the radar picking up some of the rain showers and some of the heavier stuff over towards Point Pelee and just kind of coming in there. So some embedded thunderstorms not out of the question again into tomorrow afternoon. Anticipate there could be times where it's a little bit heavier with the downpours. I don't know if you were here with me yesterday, but I was showing you that kind of area of low pressure that was sort of cut off and that it would finally break away. Well, yesterday it was down around Nashville, and now that center, that low, well, it's getting closer to, say, Chicago. So it is on the move, and that's why we've seen the change too on our weather. We've got to get this thing moving through and then out. And since there's a holiday weekend, it means the second part of the holiday weekend likely looking like the better one. So we get into some of the heavier rain showers at times, so off and on. I do see a break into Friday afternoon in the precipitation, then it comes back, so it's not done. Saturday, the same thing. Saturday's starting to look like it could actually turn into a pretty decent day with some sun coming through, but we're still not done with it. Even into Sunday, I have a chance for some showers, but towards Monday, looking better and better. Temperature, again tonight, nope. That's not the daytime high, that's the low. And tomorrow it's up into those low 20s, feeling like about 27. And this is how it looks into the weekend. I'm not saying there won't be any showers on Saturday, but I just think it's looking a little better than it did earlier in the week. Have a look, though, Sunday and Monday, what we're talking about for Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, come on, Katarina, wow.
Exactly, and it's nice to know we have that chance of sunshine. That's wonderful. That's all we really need to know for Thanksgiving.
That's
Thanks,
right.
Paulette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, one man's fight to protect the lives of migratory birds. That's right after the break. Canadian drivers are feeling the pain of much higher prices at the pumps. Prices nearing record highs in parts of the country, and there's no sign of relief. Peter Armstrong reports.
If you're looking for nuance over the rising price of gasoline, these pumps in St. John's are probably not the best place to start.
They're not spot. It's going to be $1.60, and I'm pretty sure that's a record in that province. And I don't know, for young people, it's nuts.
Gas price, it's crazy. It's not good for delivery drivers.
Frustrating though it is, this is evidence of an economy bouncing back, that people are driving and flying again. When the price of oil hits these levels, producers usually pump more, and that brings down the price. Not now, not after the dismal year producers just had.
The investor community has essentially been saying, don't you dare invest another dollar into production, sit back, enjoy the wildly high prices while you have them, and finally give us some of our money back.
Canada's surge in oil and gas may leave consumers upset, but it doesn't hold a candle to the unfolding energy crisis in Europe and Asia. In China, coal production fell last year and hasn't caught up. As much as 44% of China's industrial activity's already been hit by power shortages. This one makes do with a generator for now. If this goes on much longer, he says, we won't survive. Beijing has ordered energy companies to secure supplies for this winter at all costs. Meanwhile, in Europe, power bills have tripled in some regions this year as natural gas prices have hit record levels. This man says the poor are getting hit the hardest. No one puts on the heating, he says, because everyone knows they won't be able to pay for it. There's no simple fix, and winter is coming. Whether it's coal in China, gas in Europe, or oil in North America, this last year has wreaked havoc on supply. Now, as demand turns, the havoc is shifting to prices with very real impacts at every turn. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
It's the time of year when most migratory birds in Canada head south, but millions are killed when they accidentally fly into windows. One man in Saskatchewan is working to change that, one bird at a time. Fiona Odlum reports.
We're getting a lot of birds coming out of the park, seeing the reflection of the park and colliding with that building.
Jeffrey Gamble is a bird enthusiast. During migration season, he searches downtown Regina for birds that have crashed into windows.
This poor bird collided with a building and subsequently been stepped on.
He's part of the Bird Safe Initiative program with Nature Regina.
In the 3 programs we've run, we found around 80 birds in total and about 20 different species of birds.
Gamble says collecting the birds is critical to not only spreading awareness about the hazards of windows, but also understanding species decline.
It's estimated that 25 million birds a year die in Canada during the migration process. So that's a lot of birds. It's also estimated that in North America, 1 billion birds with a B die from colliding with windows.
Once he locates a dead bird, he then catalogs it on the Citizen Science Initiative Global Collision Bird Mapper. Gamble then packs up the bird and takes it to the Royal Saskatchewan Museum. And the museum's collection is a key factor when it comes to recording the effects of climate change.
You know, they've noticed things like changes in the size of the beak. They've noticed changes in the distribution of some birds. And it gives you that really long-term look at biodiversity, but you also preserve, like you saw in those drawers, a lot of information about the shape and the size of these critters.
Together, Gamble and Fisher are giving those lost birds a purpose by documenting the effects of climate change and raising awareness about bird strikes.
If you can put films or tape on these buildings or branding, anything like that to break up that field, it helps a lot with the birds colliding with them.
Until that happens, high above, he'll continue the work on the ground.
Hopefully, one bird at a time, we can kind of grow this community a bit.
Fiona Odlum, CBC News, Regina.
And that's it for CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.